Hi everybody, welcome back once again to the Eastfield Gunroom YouTube channel. And today we've got something a little bit different. We have got another semi-auto. Today we are going to look at the Beretta A400 Black Edition. Regular viewers of the channel will remember that we did an A400 Lite, which was a lighter weight, synthetic, kind of a different application semi-auto from Beretta, based on the A400 series. So what we're doing, we're going to mix it up now. We're going to show you one that's really more of an out-and-out competition gun, more of a clay gun. The A400 was launched back in about 2011 from memory, and the sporting version absolutely broke the mold. Prior to that, you had Beretta semi-autos that had got traditionally black actions, or they'd got like a nickel finish. They did one called the Technis, which is something we'll look at soon. And for some reason, they came out with this bright blue thing, which I affectionately named a Smurf. And believe it or not, people bought it. People went out and thought, I want to be different. I don't want my gun to look the same as everybody else's. And they went and bought this bright blue semi-auto. So what you got with the A400, it was the successor to the 391, which was a very successful series for Beretta. Ran from about late 1990s up until 2011 when the A400 was born. So you got a long run there. A lot of guns produced, particularly when you go back to the fact that domestically in Italy, for example, a lot of people hunt with semi-autos high up in the mountains with dogs, etc. So this one is a 2017, which is when they launched this model. And what it did is it kind of stepped up from the standard blue Xcel version, and it just gave you a few more bells and whistles. But ultimately, it was kind of built on the same mandrels, which was already a very successful gun. It'd been out for 6 years. They'd done a couple of variations on it with the kickoff stocks, etc. They did one called a parallel target, which has got like a step rib of a Monte Carlo stock. But this kind of fitted at the top end in terms of specification and aesthetics. It was a really popular piece of kit. For those that don't know, Beretta semi-autos are all completely gas operated, so the recoil is absorbed by the gas, the operation is all gas, and they are brilliant. I've always been a fan of Beretta semi-autos. Remember the Beretta 303 video, which was kind of the gun that really started things off with me being a fan of them. Don't forget to check out the review. And if you speak to anyone that's ever owned one, very rarely will they say they've had a problem with it. I think more so in this day and age, in the last sort of 10, 15 years, when people have become a bit more obsessed, particularly in the UK, we're using lighter load cartridges, shorter cartridges. And yes, you can have a few problems with semi-autos because they can be a little bit ammunition fussy. Largely load Berettas are absolutely bulletproof. So here we've got the A400 and semi-autos, and the customization semi-autos for clay shooting is massive. There was a company I can recall a few years ago, used to be very big into it, called Angleport, and they would play around with the gas flow. They would lighten the triggers, put competition triggers on, different bolt handles, different releases, and that kind of, this model kind of tied in with that. And like I said, it kind of raised the bar in terms of competition semi-autos that were available worldwide. So you've got black action, it's called the Xcel, but what you've got is you've got this great big bolt handle, so you can grab hold of it nice and quickly. It's not fiddly. Anyone can get a good grip on it. And coupled with that, you've got this oversized bolt release as well. Traditionally on a Beretta semi-auto, you've got this little round button, which can be a little bit fiddly, especially when you're in a pigeon-eyed or it's freezing cold, you're on a winter Christmas shoot, whatever. This just makes it a bit more user-friendly. You can just slap it with your hand. You can just, it's just very user-friendly. So that's the action, rotating bolt head like the other A400 models that we looked at. What we move on to then, we then move on to the really cool features for clay shooting. You will notice it's got a carbon fiber rib, and carbon fiber is obviously one of those words that makes men go weak at the knees. Titanium, Kevlar, there are a couple of other examples. So you've got carbon fiber rib, parallel with a center bead. Obviously that makes the barrel lighter, makes the gun lighter. And also it's super cool. And with it being called a black edition, over the last 10 or 15 years, there's been a kind of an increase in the use of the word black edition. I can remember cars using it, guns using it, watches using it. It's just been one of those things where let's cover stuff in black, let's call it a black edition, and it'll look really cool. And this to be fair, ticks all the boxes. So as with all Beretta A400s, and of course we've got modern day 694s, DT11s, all that kind of stuff, the standard go-to trait range for Beretta now is the Optima HP, which is Optima High Performance. They stuck sticky outer ones on this. Initially with the blue Smurf, they were silver. Obviously with this, they were going to be black. And from then on, they then manufactured this as an option for aftermarket use, and people have put them in guns up and down the country. So, black chokes, black barrel, matte finish barrel, nice. The A400 Xcel, the original blue one, was gloss finish. Again, what they've done is they've kind of toned it down a little bit just to make it a little bit more stealthy looking, which is, I think, is really nice. So this gun was available in 28, 30 and 32 inch. Now, this is a good time to point out that if you are looking at getting a semi-auto, just take into account the fact that these things are massive. The length of a 28-inch barrel semi-auto, 9 times out of 10, in fact, forget that, 10 times out of 10, will be more the overall length than a 30-inch over and under because of the length of the action. So what you've got to look at then, you've got to look at what you want to use it for, the application, and also how much room you've got in your cabinet, to be fair. So just bear that in mind. So we talked about the black action, black trigger, obviously, extended bolt handle, extended release. So moving on to the woodwork, obviously aesthetically that's very pretty. Now this was a real piece of top drawer engineering from Beretta. What they did a few years before this, they introduced their extra grain feature, and what that did is they took a standard basic plain piece of wood and they enhanced it with the use of lasers to make it look like it was heavily figured. You know, this is no exception, looks really smart. They did it on the Eureka 2s and they kind of took it up an extra level with this, with the finish as well, made it all weatherproof on the outside. So extra grain, sort of a semi-satin oil finish, quite funky checkering. You've got this these 3 little bits on here, and also the Beretta logo on the front, which I think is quite smart. You might be wondering what this black piece is in the bottom of the stock. Now this was the gun pod. Now, whereby Beretta had a good idea with enhancing the stock with lasers, this was not the best idea. So what this did is it allowed the gun to be fitted with a onboard computer. And what that did is it would give you an idea of how fast the cartridge was, how many shots you had fired. And if you look at the latest version, which I think is the Gun Pod 3, it will even drop pins where you've been shooting, like up through an app on your mobile phone. That's quite cool. You know, especially if you're going pigeon shooting, you want to know where they were on a particular day in a particular week. However, I do feel from a manufacturing point of view that by putting something that allows the end user to see how fast the cartridges are, etc., you kind of open yourselves up to all kind of potential issues. Personally, I've never really supplied one. It didn't catch on in this country. It is a bit gimmicky, but at the same time, we talk about it all the time. Manufacturers are always trying to push forward with technology, with innovation, and it's quite an interesting thing to look at, to know about. I've never actually personally used one myself, and there we have it. Now, in terms of stock dimensions, most Beretta autos start fairly flat. I think the standard set is sort of 38/60, but as with all semi-autos, you do get a handy little shim kit so you can raise the stock accordingly, drop it, cast it, whatever, and those are the bits that are usually supplied in the case. Microcore pad, this one is particularly a 28, so it's the big fat mother. And in the middle of that, we have got a 12.5mm Beretta competition spacer. So again, if I mount that gun nice and long in the stock, I can shoot that quite comfortably. If you've got any kind of Beretta semi-auto from the last 40 years, they all have the facility to put a standard Beretta profile pad on the back, whether you want it longer, shorter, whatever. If you do go back to the realms of like the old 302s, though, they are curved butt plates and they can be a little bit more difficult to source, although they are still available. Balance-wise, obviously it's completely different because it's a semi-auto. But remember, we've got carbon fibre on the barrel, which will make it nice. And that's pretty good. That's a 30-inch gun. Remember, it is massive. So that's the equivalent of probably a 33, 34-inch over and under. Very, very pointable. These were popular with people that shot the Beretta World competition, big competition here in the UK. Obviously, being the Beretta World, you have to shoot a Beretta. So if you've got the light, if you shoot the likes of Krieghoff, Perazzi, Miracle, or whatever, it made sense if you needed to go and buy or borrow a gun for a shoot, and again, semi-auto shoots, that you could get your hands on one of these. So as a gun, the A400 remains popular. There's a large portfolio of products now. You've got the multi-target, which has got a Monte Carlo stock with a big high rib, which is adjustable. You've got the A400 Black Edition, which has recently been superseded by a grey one with a kind of an aquatech finish, which is kind of Beretta's version of a Cerakote. And manufacturers do seem to be going down that route at the minute. It's all about durability and withstanding all kinds of horrendous weathers, which I think is a good point to make. Moving on to the box. We all like to look in the box. Plastic case. Now, As standard with Beretta semi-autos, you will get 3 chokes. You don't get 5. So typically you will get quarter, half and 3/4 with a gun like this. Sometimes in the case of a game version or a field version like the A400 Lite, it would be kind of cylinder, half and full. There's your book of words. More importantly, there is the shim to lower stroke heighten the stock. Now, if we look on the back of that particular shim, it has got 55 DX, so obviously a 55mm drop. DX is right-handed, and 60mm drop for left-handed, depending on which way it goes on the back of the action. Choke key, nice padded interior, and as you get with all Beretta semi-autos, you also get a magazine restriction rod, which can convert the gun to a single shot. So not a particularly long review, but a review I wanted to do. It was nice the fact that we'd done the A400 Lite, which kind of was an all-rounder gun for people, particularly that wanted a lighter weight semi-auto, hence the name. This is a good comparison because it's more of a clay orientated one. So for people looking at the A400 range, you know, by doing the lighter weight light model, which was kind of an all-rounder for pigeon shooting, wildfowling, etc., and comparing it directly to a competition version, hopefully that will give some insight to which is the most suitable for those to choose. So that's been the Beretta A400 Xcel Black Edition Sporting from me, Matthew Morgan at Eastfield Gunroom. There's a mouthful. If you've got any questions about this particular A400 or any of the A400 series, do get in touch. I'll be happy to help. Just email me directly. Don't forget to check out the website. Lots of stuff on there. Don't forget to keep liking and subscribing the channel because we do need your support to keep bringing you this exciting content. And I look forward to seeing you next time.